We begin the current Daf and set this Eruvin Daf and Aleph. We begin on the bottom of the memory base, 2 lines up on the bottom of the Yommi. Where the Gemara continues from another teaching from Ba'amar Rabba, Kiavin Bei Rav Huna. Some of these we're discussing today's Daf are the halacha of Mis'anin Mashlimin. Is the concept that when you fast, you always finish the fast. Sometimes if it's like on the Erev Shabbos, you might not fast that whole day. Additionally, on Beis, we're going to continue with the next parak, parak Mishitzi'u, which we can discuss if someone was taking it out of his tchum. What's the halacha? What halacha does he have if he was, let's say, taken into another city? Does he have the halacha of that city, or does he have just the halacha of Dalmanas? Which is corresponds because in Chesed or any time Daf Chaim, we begin the current Daf, Memor Beis. 3 lines up at the bottom of the end. So it says the Gemara of Omer Rabbi, it says, Kiavin Bei Rav Huna, when we're in the Yeshiva Rav Huna, he brought them with the following question. Rabbi Yosef B'Tanisa B'Mali Shabsa, a Yeshiva student who they take upon themselves a personal fast. He's fasting and he's fasting Erev Shabbos. So the question is, Ma'ala Shlume, what's the halacha? Is he going to complete the fast all the way till Friday night? So and that says the Gemara have the So Rav Huna, they didn't have the answer. So Asol Kamed Rabbi Yehuda, they came from the Yehuda, but the other he also didn't have the answer. So he says, okay, he says, let's see ourselves. The time we learn the Brisa, Tez Ba'ad Shechalis B'Shabbos, if Tisha B'Av falls out to be on Shabbos, or similarly, as we continue to talk about Memal from Menal, Erev Tisha B'Av Shechalis B'Shabbos, if Erev Tisha B'Av falls out to be on Shabbos. So even though, let's say when Tisha B'Av falls on the weekday, you're not supposed to eat 2 cooked dishes by the Sudam of Sekes, you're not supposed to eat meat, you're not supposed to drink wine, you're not at Shabbos. So again, whether it's Erev, like we said, whether it's Tisha B'Av on Shabbos, or whether it's Erev Tisha B'Av on Shabbos, Tisha B'Av for sure you're going to eat anything. And Erev Tisha B'Av you don't usually drink wine and eat meat. Now that it's Shabbos, you can eat and drink whatever you want. Even like what was considered the meal of Shlomo HaMelech in his moment, in his time, because there was a time that he was very wealthy, he was a king. There was a time also that he was overthrown, that he was not a king. The point is, even when he was the greatest king of the whole world, as much food as he wanted. Now, then continues the Brisa, Chavios Tisha B'Av Be'erev Shabbos, but let's say Tisha B'Av falls out to be on Erev Shabbos. So then you're fasting because of Tisha B'Av. What you do is you bring in an egg and he eats all the way to the end of Tisha B'Av. That you shouldn't come into Shabbos when you're feeling all afflicted, all fasted out. So what you see here is clearly from the Brisa that you're not mashal your tightness when it's on Erev Shabbos. So therefore that's the right. But then says the Gemara, as the Bach puts in the word Kitanoi, that's actually Machlekes Tanoi. Tanya, we learn the Brisa. Rabbi Yehuda says, Palmachas in the Yeshua of Rabbi Kiva. One time, we were sitting in front of Rabbi Kiva, but Tisha B'Av Shechalis Be'erev Shabbos, it was Tisha B'Av, this exact case, the previous Brisa, that was on Friday. They brought Rabbi Kiva a lightly roasted egg, and he swallowed it without salt. Meaning, it doesn't sound like he was even enjoying himself. It's not like he was like so much desiring that egg. And Laharis, the Talmid Malach, he just wanted to show the students what the halacha is, that you're not mashing the tightness. Erev Shabbos, like we had in the previous place, so you don't finish the tightness all the way. You don't come into Shabbos starving, which is B'chalal halacha. You're not supposed to come into Shabbos starving. So even if it's a fast, you go ahead and you eat. Now, that's one opinion. Rabbi Yisrael, he disagrees. He says, no, Misana Umashna. He says that you fast and you finish the fast all the way to the nighttime. And Amar Desi says to them, don't you agree to me? But he brings a raya from a similar idea from the other way around. Not Friday going into Shabbos, but Shabbos going into Sunday. If Tisha B'Av falls out on Sunday, Shenmafsik, the halacha is you stop your meal on Shabbos and Yomim, meaning you have to finish Shalosh Shudas when it's still Shabbos. Many times people go Shalosh Shudas late into the night. When Tisha B'Av falls out on Sunday, you have to accept your timeless right after you finish eating, even though it's Shabbos. So Amrullah, they said, yeah, that's true. So that happens. Now he was coming with his logic. He says, wait a second. What's the difference coming into Shabbos in the state of Inui, meaning to finish your fast at Shabbos all the way till Shabbos, which that you disagree because, you're coming into Shabbos in an afflicted state. So then Mali Lot says, then what's the difference leaving Shabbos in an afflicted state, where you start your timeless when it's still Shabbos, where there you agree that you have to end your Shabbos Shudas early. So what's the difference? So Amalek said to him, no. If you're going to talk about the case that you said we agree to, when you're leaving Shabbos in afflicted state, you ate and drank the whole day. So it's not a grace is off. Okay, we got to stop early. Fine, not a big deal. And you're afflicting yourself on Shabbos because you're stopping earlier than you had to. But regarding the case that we're talking about, that to come into Shabbos in afflicted state, he didn't eat the whole day. He was fasting all Friday. To say that the guy's going to finish the fast and come into Shabbos like that, that's untenable, and therefore that's where we disagree. And the Ula actually says that halacha like Rabbi Yisi. Halacha is like Rabbi Yisi, that you're what's called misanan umashlimin. You fast, and umashlimin, you finish the fast, you go all the way till the end of the day. That is the Gemara, me of the Rabbi Yisi, you really do that like Rabbi Yisi, that you're misanan umashlimin. But for me, it seems to be contradictory from the Mishnah Masechtas Tainis. The Mishnah says, "In goyim tainis al tzibur." You don't decree a public fast on the tzibur, Rosh Chodashim. Not you're not supposed to fast on Rosh Chodesh, B'Chanukah, u'B'Purim. Now, if they started, what do you mean they started? So as Rashi explains, they made a public fast for 20 or 30 days, and it just happens to be that Chanukah or Rosh Chodesh falls out in those days. So then they mafsikin. Then you don't stop the Rebbe Gamliel. You'll fast on those days even though you're not supposed to fast. And then Amr Meir says, even though Rebbe says that you don't stop and you'll fast, but he agrees that you don't complete the fast on Chanukah or Chodesh to fast the whole day. You'll fast, but not the whole day. And B'chein Tesba Shabbos B'Shabbos, also if Tisha B'Av falls out on Erev Shabbos, what do you see? That you're not mashal. That's what Ramey is explaining for Gamliel, that you don't complete the fast on Erev Shabbos. Now, the time of the Brisa, the La'acha Petrasa, and the year says Gamliel, after Gamliel passed away, who again, he was the one that says, you're not mashal, you don't finish the fast, as Ramey had explained. Rabbi Shloimy came in, he wanted to nullify his opinion. He wanted to say that no, you're supposed to be mashal the tainis, you finish it all the way. Rabbi got up on his feet and he said, he said, I see here that what's happening is, in other words, he says, I see that the real rule should be the basa reisha is very important for Rosh Hashanah. The basa reisha after the head is gufa azal. The body follows the head. It's Rosh Hashanah. We do all these different samanim. It's the head. It's the Rosh Hashanah. The body should follow the head. We have to follow the words of the early ones of Rabbi Gamliel. Kol yom of Gamliel, all the Gamliel kavan Allah gemaisim min Allah like him that you're not mashlam. Now you want to nullify his opinion and go opposite him and say that you should be mashlam. Yeshua in Shem L'chal, we don't listen to you. Shekvar nikva halacha Gamliel, halacha was already established like Gamliel. And says the Brisa of Allah, Adam sheirid dvar klum. There was no one who contested what Rabbi Shloimy had said. Obviously, that you're not mashlam. How could Ula say that Allah is like a B'yasi, that you are mashlam Erev Shabbos? That time is when we see clearly in the halacha's rule that no one's disagreeing with Gamliel and that you're not going to be mashlam. Says the Gemara, you're right. But B'doshin Gamliel, in the generation of Gamliel, of Gamliel, then they did Gamliel. But B'doshin Yasi, but Rabbi Yisi, who is much later, of Rabbi Yisi, then they left Gamliel and they established halacha is like going to be like Rabbi Yisi, that you are permitted to be mashlam. And therefore it's not a contradiction of Ula. Because Ula obviously is Amoyer came much later, and by the time Rabbi Yisi came along, they already switched from Gamliel's opinion of Imashlimin to that of Rabbi Yisi that Imashlimin. But now the Gemara has a different question. It says, is that really so that if it does Gamliel, other Gamliel? You're saying that, when Gamliel was around, everyone did Gamliel, that you were not Mashlim Tainis. Is that really so? But for time you were learning on Brisa. Amr B'Lazar B'Tzadik, he says, Ani Mimni Sanav Ben Binyamin. He says, I'm from a family that's from Sheva Binyamin, who, as the Gemara brings elsewhere in the last parak in Masechtas Tainis, that they had certain karbanos they would bring because they were the families that brought firewood to the Beis Hamikdash when the Beis Hamikdash needed firewood. And the family of this son of Ben Binyamin, they had the 10th of Av. This was in the days of Ezra, and that became their Yom Tiv for all of time. Now he says, I'm from that family. Again, so you test the Yud B'Av was their day when they would bring their carbon eitzim, as it's called. So Pamach Chal Tish B'Av Yis B'Shabbos. One time it happened that Tish B'Av fell on Shabbos. So b'Dechanu L'Achar Shabbos. So we pushed off, as the halacha is, we pushed off Tish B'Av to go ahead and have it on the next day, on Sunday, which is the 10th of Av, which was our Yom Tov. Now V'Saninu B'Ai V'Lo Yashlinu. So we fasted because it was Tish B'Av. That's Nidcha on Sunday, which was Yud B'Av, but we weren't mashal, we didn't fast the whole fast. And the reason is they shouldn't shalom because it was our yomtiv. They had a yomtiv that they bring their karbonis and they bring the wood. Now says the Gemara the following question: Taima the yomtiv. It sounds like that year that was because their yomtiv was the 10th of Av, they weren't mashal. But how erev yomtiv, it sounds like that every other Tisha B'Av, which was erev their yomtiv, right? Every year, let's say their yomtiv is on the Wednesday, Yud B'Av, and Tisha B'Av is on the Tuesday. Then it sounds like that mashlimin, that then they would go ahead and fast the whole Tisha B'Av, even though Tisha B'Av is their erev yomtiv. Now, Rabbi Lazar Tzaddik, as Rashi explains, was in the generation of Leal, as the Gemara says in Be'er, Daf Chapes and Beis. Rabbi Lazar Tzaddik says, many times I would go after my father to the house of Rabbi Leal. So wait a second. Didn't you tell me in the generation of Leal that everybody would follow Rabbi Leal? And he said, a mashlimin. Yet here we see clearly that we finish a fast erev a yomtiv. What's the halacha mashlimin? Mashlimin is when you're coming into the Shabbos or yomtiv. You don't come in all hungry. Yeah, it's not bakavadi. You don't come into Shabbos like that. That's the halacha of a mashlimin. Mashlimin is you do. Rabbi Leal, you said, holds a mashlimin. Yet here we see clearly that the only reason why they were not mashlimin because it was on the yomtiv itself. But erev the yomtiv, they would be mashlimin. That contradicts what you said when you reached Rabbi Leal. So Ravina says no. Shani yomtiv shal devrei. A rabbinic yomtiv, like this carbon by the wood they would bring in the Beis Hamikdash, is a rabbinic yomtiv. It's not a biblical yomtiv. So since it's more lesser of a yomtiv, so and where do you see this? Since you see that you'll fast for hours, not the whole day, which is the Bryce itself said that when Tisha B'Av was nidcha, it was really on Shabbos, but it was pushed off to the 10th of Av, that, we would fast on it, we just wouldn't be mashlim it. So you see that you're allowed to fast some of it, hours, so therefore mashlimin by avias. So therefore, the evening before, you'll finish the tainus coming in before the yomtiv, and to come in a state of inur. Because even on the yomtiv itself, you're allowed to fast a little bit, like they said, we fasted some of the hours on the 10th of Av. In contrast, Shabbos, where you're not allowed to fast even a little bit. You don't fast even a few hours of Shabbos. I'll fast l'shem tiny. That's why you're not supposed to. You're supposed to eat before chatzah. You're not supposed to fast even for an hour on Shabbos. So there you can't go ahead and complete the times erev Shabbos because then you're going to have some of Shabbos before you make kiddush and eat. You're going to be in the state of inui. So therefore it's not a comparison. It's not difficult. You're right. Every one generation of Leal helping Leal that in Mesanim. Which means to say, you're not mashlim the tainus coming in before Shabbos. Over here, before Yud B'Av and a regular Tisha B'Av, they would finish the whole Tisha B'Av. That's because Yom Tov Shel Devrei. Because by their rabbinic Yom Tov, you're allowed to fast some hours on it, so you're allowed to be mashlim obvious. Shabbos, and I'll fast even a few hours. You're right. No one disagreed with Leal in this generation that you were not mashlim. Now, he says, Lo Shmi Leho Shmaita. He says, I never heard this teaching that Ula had said previously that the halacha is like a Yisi that Dimashim. Yisi says, I never heard of this. Which only Abaye said to him, what do you mean? At Amit Na'alam. You told us this halacha. As Rashi points out many times in Shas, Rabbi Yosef became ill and forgot his learning. Abaye, his student, would always remind him, he says, hey, Rabbi, you told us this. And you know what you told us this? Vaha Amit Na'alam. You told us this on the Mishnah we mentioned before. Mishnah says at this tiniest ingres and tiniest al tzibur shadash l'chulu. You're not supposed to make a tiniest on a tzibur shadish l'chulu, etc. Now, v'min Allah, which some of your studies bring on the side for Amrit Lan, you told us, Amar Behuda Barav, that Zu Divrei Meir Sham Shmuel Leal. This halacha, which was that Leal had said that you're going to go ahead and not fast on these days, that Meir had said in Leal that he agrees that you're not going to be mashlim, and so too was Tisha B'Av that falls into being erev Shabbos. That's where the Mishnah is going like. But the Chacham, they disagree. They're Mesana u'mashlim. They say you do fast and you are mashlim tainus. My love, isn't that when you were quoting the Chachamim, that was a kulu, that was going on all the halachas of that Mishnah, which includes Chanukah and Purim, and on the case of erev Shabbos, when Tisha B'Av was in erev Shabbos. Now, from the fact that Rav said that he was calling Rav Yisi as the word of Chachamim, obviously the halacha is like the Chachamim. So therefore you see that you yourself were saying on that Mishnah that the halacha is going to be like Rav Yisi, that you are mis'anin u mashlam, even in the case when it's erev Shabbos. That says, no, not necessarily. That could be a Chanukah Purim. That could be that, we'll be ruling like them, that you will be mis'ana and not mashlim. If the fast falls out on Chanukah Purim itself, when the fast falls out to be an Erev Shabbos, then you're not going to be mashlim because the Chachamim would not agree to that. And says the Gemara, it's actually logical like that as we continue the days, because these are the if you really think to say that this teaching of Rabbi Yehuda was going on all of them, meaning to say even on Erev Shabbos that falls out on the time is, how could you say that? We had quoted before that Rabbi had asked from Rabbi Yehuda, meaning it said, Osla come to Rabbi Yehuda, if you're Muslim, and it says, we'll have the other. So, B'lei Pasha, he didn't resolve them. But if he was teaching it himself in that Mishnah, so that was the Chachamim, so obviously he would know the halacha regarding Erev Shabbos. Obviously he was only going to Chanukah Purim. So the Gemara says, no. Tamech, according to your reasoning that that's approved, then Had Darsh Mazur to Mishnei Reb Huna, that he says halacha is Misanu Mashlim, that you fast and you completed Erev Shabbos. How could that be that was Reb Huna's teaching? Because Rabbi had asked from Reb Huna. The original Daf started with Rabbi had asked from Reb Huna. He was in Yeshiva Reb Huna. And B'lei Pashlei, Reb Huna did not answer it. But how could you say this teaching name of Reb Huna that you're Masana Mashal? And rather, Hamik made the Shema. This was before he heard it. All the Basa the Shema. And this after Reb Huna heard from Rab. This teaching of the Mishnah in Masechtas Tainis that but Al Chachamim they disagree with Rabbi says that you are Masana Mashal. Then he went and he taught it to Mazucha. But before he heard it, that was when Rabbi asked him, and then he didn't know it. So Achinami here also this is Rabbi Yehuda you can't ask. It's the same thing. You could say Hamek made the Shema. Before he heard from Rabbi teaching, he didn't know. Well, the person is talking about after he heard it, which as Rashi points out, Rav Huna and Rabbi Yehuda were both students of Rav. After they heard from Rav, the explanation of the Mishnah set this tiniest, that Ramliel, which your mayor is qualified teacher of Ramliel, that you're not Mashlim, that then they said, that, the Chacham they disagree. And if you say it in the words of the Chacham, that means to say that that's halacha like them, that you see the halacha is like Rabbi Yosi, even in the case of Erev Shabbos. And Darash Mazut, Mishnah Reb says, halacha is mis'anin mashlim. That if you do fast and you complete the fast, even if it's on the Erev Shabbos, and you come in that state. Hanalach B'kol Ma'arvin, we shall return to the third paragraph, Masechtas Eruvin, paragraph B'kol Ma'arvin, which spoke about the halachas of Eruvin Techumen, that we could make an Eruv of all types of foods, and then spoke about regarding where the placement of the Eruv is. And with that we begin the fourth paragraph, Masechtas Eruvin, paragraph Mishiur, which continues on this theme regarding the halachas of Techumen. So the Mishnah begins. Mishiur Nachar. What happens if, let's say, a non-Jew takes a Jew out of his Tchum? Or let's say there's an evil spirit, which Rashi says, let's say a demon enters a person and he becomes all perturbed and he just walks out of the Tchum. And then he becomes sane again. And now he's out of the Tchum. So what does he do? Says the Mishnah, so he only has his Dalaramas because ultimately it's out of his Tchum. But let's say he's the Ruhu, let's say the non-Jew brings him back into the Tchum. It's Kila Yatza. It's like as if he didn't leave. And the whole city's been like Daled Amos like it was originally. And he still gets the 2,000 Amos in every single direction. Now, but let's say they go ahead and they take him to another city. And that city is surrounded with walls. Or let's say let's say they put him into a pen or some type of a lockdown area, which is surrounded and it's a very large area. So here we have a machlekes. They say you could go the whole area because since it's surrounded with walls, so the whole area, the enclosed area is like Daled Amos. So therefore, he has only that area, but that area itself is like Daled Amos. They say no, he only has Daled Amos. The Gemara the next time is going to explain why they would hold like that. But no, you only have in that area, you don't have the whole enclosed area. You only have Daled Amos, like a person who went out of the Tchum. Only has Daled Amos. Here also is only that Daled Amos. Now, the Mishnah brings a story, Maisa Shabo Mi Plandrosen, which is the name of a place. They were coming from this place, Plandrosen, and Vifliga, like Rashi says, means when you go very far from the edge of the water, you go into the middle of the sea, that's called Haflaga. So basically their boat was way out into the water. Now, they went and they walked the whole boat, meaning they walked throughout the boat. Now, even though the boat was going on Shabbos and went out of the Tchum, but it's like when you were taken out of your Tchum and you put it into an enclosed area because the boat has walls. So you're in that Daled Amos of the boat, so therefore you can walk the whole boat. But Rabbi Shua, Rabbi Kiva, they didn't leave from the Dalalamas who they were in the boat. Because they want to be stringent on themselves, which, as Rashi points out, the Gemara is going to explain what do you mean they want to be stringent on themselves. They hold you only get Dalalamas when it's not stringent. That's what the whole halacha is. But Al Kapanim, that's what something for their halacha, which was, you're out of the Tchum, even though you're in a closed area, you don't get the whole enclosed area, you only get Dalalamas. Now, another story. One time it happened that they didn't come to the port, which is where the boats are docked and come out from Atshach HaShecha. So they were traveling, and it was already Shabbos by the time they got to the port. So they said to Neil, Ma Amalei, what's the halacha? Can we get down from the boat to go into the city? In other words, we're coming from out of the Tchum, and maybe we can't get off the boat. Amalei says, Mutar Matam, you're allowed to. Yisrael says, I already was looking. I said, we're already in the Tchum before it got dark. So it says, although now, by the time we're docking, it's already Shabbos, but I saw, right when it was getting Shabbos, right before Benish Masha, I saw we're already in the Tchum, so really we're in the Tchum in the city, so that you could go in to the city. So the Gemara brings, because we were speaking about this halacha, with Tzi'uhu Nachrim or Ruach Ra, which regarding the non-Jews or insane spirit in a person. So parenthetically, the Gemara mentions a brayso. There's three things that remove a person from his own intention, but that's kind of from the intention of his creator. And these are the three things: the idol worshippers, the ruach ra, and the evil spirits. So those are two of the things that we mentioned. But the dukamis, and also extreme poverty. Now, says what's the relevancy of this brayso? So it's to beseech mercy regarding the idol worshippers, regarding not becoming insane, and regarding not being tested with extreme poverty. Now, Gimel, Ein Roin Pnei Gehenna, the three people that don't see the face of Gehenna. Elohim, these are the Ktukanis, again, if someone had extreme poverty, if he had intestinal illnesses, or Vaharashas, which is either, like Rashi explains, if someone has creditors, or if someone has the government down his back, as Taisa means from Ben Fanan. The Yeshem, some say, if someone has a bad wife, that is also someone who is also obviously goes through a very Gehenna type of a life, and therefore he's not going to see the face of Gehenna. Now, so why did in the first version, who said there's only three things, who didn't count the Ishara, why didn't he mention that? Because Ishara says mitzvah karsha. It's a mitzvah to divorce her. It's your negligence. Why are you married to her? Are you complaining about it? Divorce her. Now, but the other one says no. Zimnik subas meruba. You have a huge dowry, you can't just divorce. So it's not my negligence, and therefore he won't see Gehenna. Where he not easily bothering her. What do you mean? He's a responsible father. He has sons from her. They want some magash, and they can't divorce her. So because of that, therefore it's not considered as his negligence. Now, says what's the relevancy to know this, that these three don't see Gehenna? It's the Gebula Me'ahava. It's accepted out of love because it's atoning for the person. So if someone is that type of predicament, he has one of these three things or four things, he should accept Me'ahava. It's going to be something that's going to atone for him. Says one more thing on three. There are three people that they die when they're in the middle of talking. Meaning, even if they have so much vitality and they're talking, even so, they could suddenly die. And these are someone with intestinal illness, a woman who gave birth, which is some type of illness related to a person's mouth. It says, what's the relevancy? Is to prepare for the person's tachrich and burial shroud, which is at any point in time, the person can pass away, then we have to be ready that for this type of person that he might die. Now, continuing with the halacha of the Mishnah, where Amar Rav Nachman, Amar Shmuel, he says, which this is going to relate back directly to understanding the halacha of the Mishnah, he says, Yotzel Adas, if someone went out of his tchum knowingly, he only has dollar amas. Says he, Pshita, obviously. Hashlam, you should see enough, he said in the Mishnah, if the non-Jew takes him out, he only gets dollar amas. Yotzel Das Mebali, you have to say he went out by himself. Of course, he only got dollar amas. Elena rather says, the Gemara no say, Chazla Das. If the guy himself went back willingly, meaning to say the non-Jew took him out, but then he himself came back, he goes back into the tchum, so it's not like Hechsiguhu that we said in the Mishnah, as if he never left, and therefore you only have dollar amas. Even if you came back into your city, but you had no right to come back into the tchum, you only have dollar amas. Says we also learned that in the Mishnah. The Mishnah said if the non-Jew took him back, it's like he didn't go out. When it's the kilo yatsa, obviously it's telling us only if he brings him back. But let's say the non-Jew takes him out and he goes back himself. Obviously, I'm not Dalamas. Well, what do you need to say this halacha? Elohim rather says, no. Yatzal das. We're talking about where the guy himself went out by himself. And then the non-Jew took him back. That we tell you, so even when the non-Jew brought him back, he's only going to have Dalaramas. Says Hanamatinina. That also is taught in the Mishnah. The Mishnah said it said that the non-Jew took him out and the non-Jew brought him back. That's Ki Layotze. That's as if he never left, and you get the whole city and the Tchum. But it's Yubechziru, who the Ki Layotze. It's only where the non-Jew took him out and he brought him back. That's as if he never left. But obviously, if he goes out by himself, that no, even if the non-Jew brings him back, you're not going to get it. So what do you need to tell me this for? Says no. Where would you say that Allah the Mishnah was Litstadim Kitani, which was Litstadim means to say that it's not two different cases. It's not one case. It's two different cases. Meaning there's Haitzi'uhu and there's Hechziruhu. Hechziruhu, the Sefer was its own independent Allah, not going back on Haitzi'uhu of the non-Jew. And therefore the primary would be regarding the Hechziruhu. And this is what the Mishnah was saying. Meaning you would have thought without the Amayra that the Mishnah is saying Misha Tziyu Nachrim, that if, let's say, the non-Jew takes him out, so whether he's standing on the outside, or whether b'chazal adas, or if he went back by himself, but the non-Jew didn't bring him back. The non-Jew took him out, but the non-Jew didn't bring him back. So whether he's still outside or the Jew came back by himself, so that's what the Mishnah would be telling you. You would only have Dalaramas because the main thing is who brought you back. And if either you didn't come back or you came back by yourself, you only have Dalaramas. But if, let's say, he went out by himself, and he's out of the Tchum. And then the non-Jew brings him back. So again, whether initially he left by himself, or whether not by himself because he was forced, but since the non-Jew brings it back, that's Ki Layotze, that's as if he never left. Kamash Malam, that's what we needed, that Nachman to tell you that the end of the Mishnah was going back on the Reisha, that it's one case. It's the Haitziuhu and the Haitziruhu. Because you could have read it, if you look at the Mishnah, you could see Misha Nachman and Radaladamas. That's one case. Hechziruhu is not going back on Haitziuhu. That's not a care you got outside. Even the Yatzal does. But if the non-Jew brings you back Kila Yatzal. No. That's what Nachman had to tell you. Haitziuhu is a qualification. Hechziruhu is a qualification of Haitziuhu. You only get that it's Kila Yatzal if the non-Jew took you out and he brought you back. Now the Gemara continues. They asked from Rabbi the following case. What's halacha hutzach and nekavav? The non-Jews took him out of the Tchum, and now he has to relieve himself. Now, what's the halacha? Could he leave the Dalaramas where he is? So Amalem, so he said to them, Gadol kavra briyas. The dignity of a person is so great, it overrides a negative prohibition in the Torah. What that referring to is in Devarim Yadayim, there's a prohibition that says Lo Yisasa. There's a biblical prohibition of not to deviate from the words of the rabbis. Essentially what it means to say is, a lot of discussion of Rishonim, means to say that there's no Issa D'Rabbanan that's going to stand in the way of Kavod HaBriyos. Now, Tchumen is rabbinic. So therefore, of course, you're allowed to leave your Dalaramas to go to the bathroom and relieve yourself. Now, based on this, they say a big chiddush. So if this guy is smart, the one who has to relieve himself, since the rabbis gave him permission to leave his Dalaramas, so ayin l'tchuma, go into, you're allowed to walk now wherever you need to go to the bathroom. So go into the boundaries, v'kivin da'alal, and once you entered, you entered. In other words, and then you're permitted in your whole city as if you never left, because you're coming back in permissibly. So it's no worse than Hechziruhu, just like Haitziruhu Gavziruhu. It's Kilalayatza. So here the non-Jews took you out and you're coming back because you got to go relieve yourself. That's no worse than Hechziruhu. So once you're back in, and then you get back your whole city. Now the Gemara concludes with a teaching which we'll basically discuss on the next daf. Amar Papa, he says, regarding produce that left the Tchum, the Chazu, and then it was brought back in on Yom Tiv, even if that was done deliberately, they didn't lose their place, meaning the whole city is like Dalad Amas, and you could take it in every direction from the city, 2,000 Amas if it's Yom Tiv, if it's Shabbos, you let it eat it at least in its place where it's brought back in. My time, what's the reason? The reason is because Anusin, it's the same story we're saying, that whoever took it out, that then brought it back in, the payros itself is unsued. The produce didn't choose to go out or to come back in. So just like a person that had Haitziu Vezuru, it's Kilulei Atza, so the produce here also which was taken out and brought back in. He was done b'mezid, but I didn't do anything. So it's Hatzir Bechzuru, so therefore it's going to have the whole halacha like Hilayas, like as if it didn't leave the same. Some of these we discussed in today's Daf, in Eruvin Daf Mem Aleph, was we had a question. What's the halacha with being mashlim a tainis on Erev Shabbos? So ultimately the Gemara brought that it's a machlekes Tanai. Now, although the truth is according to everyone, that you leave Shabbos in the state of affliction. For example, when Tisha B'Av is on a Sunday, but that's what the Chacham say back. They say, yeah, but it's because you ate and you drank the whole day. That's different than coming into Shabbos, and therefore there are those who want to say that you're not mashlim coming in. You don't want to come into a state of Shabbos even though you leave Shabbos in the state of mourning. Then it says that in the beginning, the halacha was like a meal, that you're not mashlim. At the end, however, that wasn't difficult on Ula because at the end they ended up doing like Rabbi Isi, that you are mashlim. Now, is that really true that in the days of Mulil that no one was mashlim? But what do you mean? We have by the halacha of the Shevet of Binyamin, where they would go ahead and fast the whole fast on Tisha B'Av, which was Erev Der Yom Tov. Didn't you say, and they were the generation of Mulil that in Mulil held that you're not mashlim? Oh, so that's different because at the end of Shabbat Rain, it was Rabbinic Yom Tov. And what is it? What do you see that leniency? Because you see in the Bryce itself, they actually fasted Shayas. When Tisha B'Av was Nitcha to Yud B'Av, says we weren't mashlim on the day itself, but we were on the Shayas, they fasted some of the hours. So that's why you're mashlim by Arvius. So when it's Erev that Yom Tov, you'll fast the whole day before. Contrast by Shabbos, you're right, they held like a Mulil, that you not go out and get ahead and be mashlim on Erev, on the Erev Shabbos. Hanalach b'chol ha'arvin. So this is just Chevra Mazel Tov. There's another parak in this Masechta Anak. This is Eruvin is one of the Ani. It's the Rosh Hashanah, Eruvin, Nida, and Yavam is from the Shver Masechtas. Baruch Hashem. We're very excited. It seems to be going well. Tamshich. Then we started the fourth parak, Parak Mishitziyuhum, which you open up with the Mishnah of if let's say he was taken out forcibly by an illness, either by a non-Jew or by temporary insanity, so Allah is he only gets the alarm, so he's out of the tchum. But let's say he's brought back in, so that's as if he didn't leave and he gets back to his old state. The machlekes in the Mishnah was, let's say where he was taken out to is in a closed area, like a Dir Sahar, they were in machlekes for Mulin and Shua, can you go in the whole area or do you only get Dalet Anas? Then we said, related to the halacha of the Mishnah of non-Jews and Ruach Ra, said three things that removes a person from his intention and that of his creator is idol worshippers, the evil spirit, and extreme poverty. And the significance of that is to daven for that, if any of these things a person comes up with. Three people don't see the face of Gehenna, and the reason why Pnei Gehenna is because no one gets Gehenna, but it's the Pnei Gehenna, Avraham Avinu takes you out, whatever. These people don't even see the face of Gehenna. And people have extreme poverty, someone who had intestinal illnesses, and Russia's if he's chased by creditors, and someone to say a wicked wife, which some don't. And the significance of this is likabula me'av. Is to accept it with love and say it's going to atone a person's sins. There are three people that they die when they're in the middle of speaking, meaning they could die suddenly. Someone who has intestinal illnesses, a woman that gave birth, that's why we treat her very, and hadraikim, someone has a certain illness in his mouth. The significance of that is to prepare burial shrubs because at any point in time the person might die. We said regarding the halacha of the Mishnah that a person went out intentionally by himself. So even if the non-Jew brings it back, he's only going to get Dalet Amas. What's the chiddush of that? Isn't that inferred in our Mishnah? No. We want to tell you that our Mishnah is not letzkadim. You would have thought to say hechzeru is a different halacha than etziruhu. That the main thing is whoever brings you back, then you'll get as if you never left. Even if you went out by yourself, I would say no. It's a compound. It's one halacha. It's only for etziruhu and etziruhu. Then, but if you went out by yourself, even if the non-Jew brings you back, you're only going to get Dalet Amas. Now, let's say you need to go to the bathroom. Then we said, go to Kavah Abriyas, and you're going to have to go out of your Dalet Amas. And then the Gemara said, so then come back into the Chum and Kim Shalom because it's no less than Hechzeru. And Rav Papa said, which we'll discuss more on the next Daf, he said regarding produce that was taken out of the Chum and was brought back in, even if it was been mazed, it does not lose its place because essentially it's understood, just like a person that's honest. He's taken out and he's brought back in. It's Kim Loyotza, so the produce itself is honest. It didn't choose to go out and to come back in, even though the person who's doing it did it amazing, but the payas itself, that chefza is going to have kilayatza. Thank you for hosting us.